Hi, everyone. My name is Dennis Clary. I'm the co-creator of VocFit.com, along with Dr. Andrew Persh. I'm at Indiana University in South Bend, and Andy is at Colorado State University in Fort Collins, Colorado. So we're going to talk about using VocFit.com in the age of COVID-19, telehealth and teleeducation, virtual applications. So I'd just like to start by acknowledging the Ohio State University. Andy and I were at Ohio State when we started this project about 9 years ago. Colorado State University, who is providing funding currently, and also the National Institute of Health. And we have a $2.2 million National Institute of Health grant to make this even better. But especially Project Search. So we've been great partners with them. When we were at Ohio State, they had a post-secondary program for Project Search that was there. So they've been great partners throughout this. Um, so Susie and Aaron and Mary Ellen and the gang have been great, and also the Project Search teachers and skills trainers and host businesses, and especially the interns, have helped us make this even better. So I just ask you to please mute your microphone. So during these troubling times, I'm old enough to have been able to watch Fred Rogers every day. And so I think a lot of us have seen this quote. When I was a boy and I would see scary things in the news, my mom would say to me, "Look for the helpers. You always find people who are helping." So obviously, we are so grateful to our medical professionals, the nurses and doctors and nurse practitioners and nurses aides and therapists and other folks that are cleaning the hospitals and delivering food and helping the rest of us to shelter in place. And so I just think also about all the interns that are now employees that Project Search has supported. And so how many Project Search graduates are now helpers that are helping our healthcare systems and other systems to keep our society running. So thank all of them. But I also want to thank you, those of you that are in education or in the developmental disabilities field or vocational rehabilitation, helping to keep some sense of normalcy for those that we support. It is so important now for all of us. So thank you all for that. So just to talk to you for 12 seconds, I know there were some folks from Delaware. So we do have a $2.2 million National Institute of Health grant that is managed out of Colorado State with partners from myself at Indiana University, Cincinnati Children's Medical Center, Temple University, and the University of Florida. And so what we're trying to do is make VocFit even better. So if you are in the states of Colorado, Florida, or Pennsylvania, or if you're near Pennsylvania specifically and are interested in learning more information about the grant, go ahead and email admin@vocfit.com. And that email address is on vocfit.com as well. We're looking for folks in Project Search, but also partners with vocational rehabilitation agencies, and then also with special education. So if you have questions, just email admin@vocfit.com and we'll get back to you. So the goals for today are really to describe vocfit.com and then also explain various ways that we can use it now in a telehealth and teleeducation environments. We will take you to VocFit and show you quickly how to navigate it. But also, I'd really, really like to encourage you to visit vocfit.com to go to the support tab, which is in the top right-hand corner, because what we now have done is we have broken pretty much everything you need to do on VocFit into little 90-second videos, and then also a nice user guide. So it should make it easier for you to navigate. We actually had some new rollouts of VocFit to make it even better, which came out just yesterday. So excited to show you that. And also at the end, hoping that we'll have time to have some questions and answers with myself, and then Byron Pennington is on, and Byron is a Project Search teacher that's at World Golf Village, who we would consider to be a super user of VocFit. And there's also some folks that are on here who are part of Project Search's curriculum redesign team. So part of what we're doing is mapping VocFit to the Project Search curriculum back and forth to really help integrate VocFit even more fully into everything that Project Search is doing. So just some housekeeping. You're doing great at keeping your microphones muted, so thanks for that. If you have questions, go into the chat box. I'll show you on the next screen how to do that and type those out. And then Allie Schneider, who's an OTD student that was supposed to start her doctoral experience at Cincinnati Children's Hospital with Project Search this week, I believe, right, Allie? And so
Yes.
she's moving and doing some things online as well. So thanks for her flexibility. So she's going to keep us all on track. And this is being recorded and will be posted to the Project Search web portal. And then there's another one of these that's going to happen on Friday. And so this is, through Project Search, but anybody VR, special education, developmental disabilities, people within occupational therapy are welcome to join this as well because, it's supported by the federal government. And so we're just trying to do what we can to provide tools for you so that you can continue moving folks towards employment.
Will Friday's webinar be different?
No, it'll be the exact same. So unless you find me incredibly interesting this time, go ahead and you can just refer other people to that.
And then can they have a copy of the PowerPoint?
Yes, we will figure out how to do that. What we'll do is post this on VocFit.com, but that probably won't happen until later today. And that'll be on the support tab. So you're doing great. So I don't need to show you this too much, but there's the mute button up in the left-hand corner. To go to the chat box, hit more, and then go to chat and you can type your questions. So what is VocFit anyway? It's a free, did I mention free? Free 133 item web-based assessment. It is, you can use it on any type of phone, any type of tablet, any computer, as long as it's connected to the internet. It was designed originally for individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities within the Project Search model. So typically 16, 17 to 22, and I know Michigan 26, but most of the folks that were in when we were testing it were 16 to 22. You can use it for folks who don't have intellectual and developmental disabilities, and I've done that certainly, but you just can't say that it's valid and reliable for that population, but you'll still find good utility for it. I've used it with people as young as 12 and as old as 64. We're strengths-based, so we really are focusing on what people are good at. One really cool feature of VocFit that I know one of the Project Search teachers uses it for is when they do the assessment, and there just are going to be some folks that can be a little challenging as we're kind of doing what are their real strengths. And so he goes to VocFit right away and focuses on the strengths part to help for the strengths focus of the IEP. The focus of VocFit is on employment skills. As an occupational therapist, I'm really interested in interests, but really in terms of doing a job, it's the skills that they can or can't do that's going to make and break that. So that's why we really like that focus on skills. It's valid and reliable. Again, that 16 to 22 age range. Outside of that, use other words, just not valid and reliable. But again, it does have that good utility for. It's a job matching tool, so it has really nice use both for internship matching within the Project Search model, and then eventually helping to match individuals to employment after that. And then sort of the way it was designed, just because it's web-based, has tons of telehealth, which is I'm an occupational therapist, which is a healthcare profession, so that's our term, and also virtual or teleeducation applications. So just happy to show you all that. The valid and reliable part, so we've had 5 publications about VocFit. The scary thing is now other people are starting to write about it, which is cool, but it's my baby, so I get a little nervous sometimes. We've had phenomenal growth in VocFit since it's been on a web-based platform since 2013. We've had over 7,000 individuals with intellectual disabilities assessed and over 3,000 jobs analyzed. So the nice thing about this is that we're getting more and more data to make it even better, and going to be able to do even more stuff in terms of job development in years to come. So the basis of VocFit, so this is 30 seconds. We used the National Longitudinal Transition Study 2, which was a study of folks with that received special education services in high school, and they followed them to look at what their outcomes were after high school. So we looked to see the types of areas that they were working in, went back to the US Department of Labor and ONET. And so from that, we were able to pull up skills that folks needed to do, environment and context that they needed to perform those skills in, and that was really the basis of it. And now, again, we're pulling in more and more data into VocFit.com, and so as we have that data, we can use it to refine it and make it better and better. So currently, it's about 133 items. 108 items are the VocFit items, and there's other 25 items that we're currently testing, and they're divided into 11 subscales. So this initial assessment that you'll use to evaluate an individual is going to take you about 15 to 20 minutes, but will give you a lot of information in exchange for that 15 to 20 minutes. So these 11 subscales that the 133 items are divided into are physical abilities, self-determination, work structure, cognitive abilities, computer skills, and higher task-related abilities. The other 5 are lower task-related abilities, communication skills, interpersonal skills, safety, and general work attributes. The nice thing about this is that it helps to sort it as you're filling out the assessment, but also helps you as you're designing intervention based on that assessment, as you're designing, what are you going to teach as part of your time in the classroom or in the virtual classroom right now in the project search model. What type of job training plan are you going to develop for the skills trainer or the job coach, depending on what phase of this you're at, are you going to use to be able to develop those plans? So gives you just lots and lots of information. There are 4 VocFit.com reports that you can generate. The first is the student intern worker assessment report. And so just a quick word about that, the language. When we designed VocFit initially, we used the word worker to refer to a student, an intern, or worker. We found it was confusing to people. So now we use all 3, student, intern, worker. So when you go to VocFit, all of that refers to the individual, basically the job seeker within our platform. So the assessment report that tells you where they're at, what their current skill level is. We also have a measurable skills change report. So we can look and see where that first assessment is and where's the second assessment. And then we can look and compare where they were on day 1 in the project search model and where are they at the end of their first internship, second internship, and third internship. So it's a way that we can measure change over time. We also have a rater agreement report. So this one is new and is just released right now. So what you can do is have, maybe the individual assesses themselves, and then a teacher or a skills trainer assesses them, and you have that comparison. Or you might have a family member at home fill out an assessment and compared to the job seeker, and then compared that to the teacher, skills trainer. It's not to start fights, but it is to help get everybody on the same page. Ultimately, what VocFit is about is having communication lines open for everybody. We really want information to be on that table. We're not telling you what job someone should or shouldn't be in, but we are trying to give you information so that the job seeker, their family, and the support team collectively can make those decisions together with all that data available. And then the last thing, and this is actually what VocFit was started to do, is an internship job matching report. So those are the 4 different reports that you can get from VocFit. So we're going to start with, we use high, some, and low to refer to the individual. High ability, some ability, and low ability. So what do those mean? For each of those 133 items, you'll be asked to go through and to assess them. We would say that someone has high ability if you can leave them in a room by themselves and they can complete that task by themselves. So they may need some assistive technology, they need, but as long as they can manage that themselves, then we would say they have high ability. Low ability means that you're in the room with them providing some ongoing support, and they still can't perform a task to the level that it's acceptable to the employer, to the department they're working in. So if you're providing support and they can't do it, we would say they have low ability. Some ability is somewhere in the middle, that they're inconsistent in their performance, that they need some assistive technology, that they can't manage themselves. So an example of that would be perhaps they have a communication device, they need to move between two screens, but they can't do that independently. They can manage one screen themselves, but not two. So that's where we would say they have some ability. So high, some, and low. So what does that look like in real life? So we would say this is when we're evaluating the worker, which we also now call the student intern worker. So to what degree does the student intern worker demonstrate the ability to communicate face-to-face with other people? Again, there's 133 of these items. So for this particular worker, we would say they have low ability. That's a score of 0, goes to the cloud, and then we begin to build a profile for all those 133 items for that one individual. So what does that look like? And we'll go live to VocFit and show you what that looks like here. But this is what you'll do. You'll go through and you'll check high, some, and low for stand, run, twist, bend, keep, or regain balance. And again, it takes you about 15 to 20 minutes to perform each one of those assessments. And then after you're done, you'll just get a readout of what how folks scored on each one of those. So what we're giving you then in terms of the student intern worker assessment report is basically a raw score by subscale. So for example, this is an individual with autism. It's a pretty typical characteristic where their physical abilities are good, computer skills are good, their task skills are really good. So you can see the raw percentage is 100 for those first 4. So what does that mean? The raw score, 22 out of 22, for that particular subscale, physical abilities, there are 11 items in the subscale. Each has a maximum score of 2. So 0 for low, 1 for some, 2 for high. And so we just give you those scores. And then on the other end, where they're going to need some additional support, you can see safety, communication, self-determination, interpersonal skills. Those are areas that they're going to need some support. So what this really helps you to do is prioritize the IEP. Some project search programs now, we'll talk about that in a second, when you're not able to have your skills days in person, which typically is happening this time of the year as we're recruiting students for the next cycle in the US anyway. I don't know if anyone's here from Australia, but the US to look at folks for this coming fall. Some programs are starting to use VocFit to help with that, to start doing, kind of, it's like a virtual skills day to really look and see where folks are. So that's what this VocFit Student Intern Worker Assessment Report means. So this is what it looks like when you go to VocFit. So you're going to just get this graph, and this is report 1 of the 4 different reports that you can get from VocFit. So you can see their different scores, and this isn't the same person, this is another individual. But then when you click on those scores, it'll tell you for this person, this particular individual has a score of about 28% for safety. So you click on safety and it'll tell you high, some, and low for each of those items in safety. Report 2 is this measurable skills change report. So this is a report that you can run when you've done at least 2 assessments on an individual. And so you would do the assessment on day, so in a project search program, a lot of times folks are starting to fill out the VocFit during this, the skills assessment days, and I know we can't do that right now. But early on, as long as you feel like you know the individual well enough to be able to fill that out, typically most project search teachers and skills trainers are saying after they've been working with someone for about 2 weeks, they feel like they can get that and to be able to fill that assessment out. So again, it shows where you are from one point in time to a second point in time. And you can do 3, 4 of these at a time and look and see where they are over time. But I think personally, it's most useful to be able to do this just comparing 2 points in time. The third report that you can do from VocFit is a rater agreement report. So again, this is where you have 2 or more raters rating someone's performance, and then comparing them. Again, it's not to start a fight. A lot of times it's to just start communication. What are you agreeing on? What are you disagreeing on? And what does that look like? Um, Most people, when they see this graph, hate it, except researchers. We get all excited. It's a radar plot graph, and it's why we got our doctorates in the first place. But basically, the overlap is where you're in agreement. Where you don't have overlap is where you don't have agreement. And for each one of those kind of bits of the spider web are each of the 11 subscales. So below that, it's going to show you where the agreement is and the percentage of agreement for each one of those. And then when you click on that, it'll tell you where it is, high, some, and low. So you're able then to have, again, that discussion about what are you agreeing on and what do you not agree on. And again, just talking it out. So the fourth report that we can do is this internship job matching report. And again, this is really what VocFit was designed for. So as we think about that scoring algorithm for the individual with the job seeker, we would say they have high, some, and low. If they can do it alone in a room, they're high. If they can't do it alone in a room, they're either some or low. It really depends on the level of support that you're providing. On the other side of that, when we're looking at the scoring, when we're assessing the tasks that we're asking them to perform, so we would say that there is a high demand for a task if it's essential to the performance of the job. So for example, you have to communicate face-to-face with the public in order to do this particular job. We would say that that's high. If maybe the task is being performed in a solitary area or only with people that you're working, you're not communicating with the public, you're just kind of interacting with coworkers, we would say that that's low, that the task is irrelevant and non-essential. So you are basically always working with people you know. So we would say that's a low demand for the job. And so some demand for that would be somewhere in between. So maybe the majority of the time you're working in the back. So maybe you're working just with the employees that you're working with, the natural supports in that environment. But maybe you have to go out on occasion to do something and interact with the general public. So we would say that's some. So that's high demand, some demand, and low demand. So what does that look like? So to what degree does the job or internship demand the ability to communicate face-to-face with other people? For this particular job, it's some demand. So you're primarily working with coworkers, but on occasion, you need to go out and interact with the general public. So that's some demand. That's a score of a 1, goes to the cloud, and then we begin to build those same 133 items for each of these jobs. So the nice thing about this is that typically, we're going to assess an individual multiple times. For the job, though, you only just assess it once. You don't assess the job with how Dennis is going to do that job. You assess that job like you would do a task analysis on a job, so that it's how anybody would do that particular job. So the nice thing now is we have data about the individual and we have data about this job, and we can start to compare them. So our approach, which we think is novel, is to be systematic, data-driven, and analytical about this matching process. So what we have is an instructional prompt. To what degree does the worker demonstrate for the worker? And for the job, to what degree does the job demand? And then we have these 133 common item steps, the ability to communicate face-to-face with other people. And then we have a customized rating scale, which is for the worker, high ability, some ability, or low ability. And for the job, high demand, some demand, and low demand. So the nice thing about that is now we're using similar language, and mathematically, we can compare them. So let's think about the data that we have and how we can show you that information. So the ability for the worker, let's say, is high for that communicate face-to-face with the public. And let's say the demand of the job is high, that job requires you to communicate with the public. We model that as a pro. So the ability of the worker is high, demand of the job is high. That's a really good thing in terms of matching. Let's say, however, that the ability of the worker is low and the demand of the job is high. Um, Technically, that's a really bad thing, and we model it as a bad thing. So that if they have difficulty doing something and they're being asked to do that very frequently, it's probably going to be difficult for them. But within a project search model, because there's a series of 3 internships, we, especially in the first couple, may want to put them intentionally in settings where they have difficulty and need to really develop those new skills. So if they really need to learn to develop to interact face to face with the public, we may intentionally put somebody in a situation where they need to do that a lot to build those skills. And then there's these other combinations of high, some, and low, and I'll show you what that looks like here on the next slide and what our model looks like. So this is ultimately what you're going to report, or what you're going to see on the left. So that pie chart, you can see those different colors, and I'm going to tell you now what those colors mean. So this particular match is for someone that was at Ohio State, and we had one of the internships was at the Columbus Public Zoo, which is a great partner. And so let's say that the ability of the person is high and the demand of the job is high. We model that as a pro. So that's a really good thing in terms of match, especially when we're looking at a job and not an internship. Let's say that the ability of the person is high and the demand of the job is some. We also model that as a good thing, as a strength. The reason that it's not the same green is that, this person has this high ability to communicate face to face with the public. Wouldn't it be great if they were in a situation where they were doing that a lot? But because they are doing it intermittently, our model says it's a strength. It's not a bad thing in any way, shape, or form, but that's why it's a different color. But you can really think of the greens as being the same. So let's say that the ability of the worker is some and the demand of the job is some. We model that as a yellow. Um, Project Search has found that these yellow areas are really the ones that people can develop skills most quickly in. So they have some ability, so they have some emerging skill there. And the job doesn't require them to do it all the time, but just periodically. And so in occupational therapy, we call it the just right challenge, where we can kind of balance that. So it might cause them some stress. So if it's in a situation where they have to do it all the time, it might be too much. But maybe that communicating face to face with the public, they can kind of build that skill over time, and then eventually, grade them so that they're spending more and more time with the public. So that's the yellow, and I think Project Search has found that sweet spot is the yellows, that really they can make great strides at helping folks move from emerging skill to mastering a skill. So we call that areas for intervention. Orange is some ability or some demand. So for us, we say that's a need area. So they have some emerging skill in it. I'm sorry, some ability, high demand. They have some emerging skill there, but they have to do it all the time. So for some folks, that might put them over the edge. But there are times when we just have to have them, kind of raise up to that challenge. And so we model that as an orange or a need. And then this red, low ability, high demand. So they're not able to do it even with kind of extensive support, but for this particular job, they have to do it. So that can cause, that's kind of the biggest leap to go from low ability to high ability in our model. But we always want to remember that red, so this is modeled after a traffic light, obviously. So red doesn't mean no, red means stop. Think, wait for it to turn green. Design some intervention. Is there part of that we can pull out of that job so that the person can continue to do that? So that's kind of our challenge, is to really figure out what kind of intervention we can design so that person can develop those additional skills. So for our model, that is a con. And then low ability, low demand, we don't model at all. So for example, I don't speak Russian. My job doesn't require that I speak Russian. So why would it, well, it shouldn't count against me in any way, shape, or form. And I'll show you here what that looks like. We provide you either pie charts or this vocational fit graph, and you'll notice there are different bar links. And the reason that the links are different is because the shorter bars have more low demand. So if it's a low demand, we don't model it whatsoever, so that it shouldn't count against you. And then there are also these pie charts. If you like pie, and who doesn't like pie, those are there as well. So we then present you that information. So you click on either one of those two previous charts, and then we'll give you the information. I do this one in Spanish just to show you that on each page there is a way to translate everything into Spanish as well. And I'll show you what that looks like live here in a second. So why are we all here today? So basically figuring out how we can use VocFit kind of in a remote, in a telehealth, teleed, virtual environment. So as we've talked about it, talking to other folks within Project Search, these are the types of ways that we're thinking about how we can use this virtually. So first and foremost, if you haven't got on the VocFit bandwagon, now's a really good time to do it. So just the typical use is what I'm going to be showing you that you can do. So use our time now to be able to do that. The other cool way that people are starting to do it is to use it as a virtual skills assessment day. So we can ask people that are familiar with folks that are applying to be interns next year to evaluate the student from VocFit. And I'll show you how we do that, because we can email those assessments to other people on the team. So I caution you, depending on what type of situation, if this is a high school student looking to come into your program, you can't really send it to the math teacher and get a good idea of how well their employment skills are. If there is, kind of some type of a paraprofessional that supports someone, that would probably be a really good person that has an idea of, how their fine motor skills are, how their ability to navigate environments are. So just kind of be thoughtful. You want somebody that knows the person well and can fill that out. I've used this a lot. When I was at Ohio State, I helped to run a transition clinic for individuals with autism, so that 14 to 26-year-old age range. So a lot of times we sat down with the individual with autism or with the family member, and we filled it out together. So that's an option for you as well. So it can also be used for job development now. And so just to tell you a couple ways we can do that, there's a Discovery Job Bank. So it comes preloaded with 50 jobs that you don't have to implement, that are already in there. But then you can also add your own jobs as well. There's a video library. So there's about 20 videos that are in there that are just short 60 to 90-second clips from various jobs throughout the economy. Many of those are Project Search internships. We can ask family or friends to assess their current or past jobs. One way that we've been really getting good jobs is to have good in terms of adding to our Discovery Job Bank. So these jobs that we're giving people options to look at. As I have occupational therapy students fill these out for sort of entry-level jobs that they've had in the past and know the job well. So that's something that you can think about too. So if you have a student currently that's interested in, I'm thinking a lot about ice cream right now. So say they're really interested in working at an ice cream parlor, find somebody that works in an ice cream parlor or has worked in an ice cream parlor, and send it to them and ask them to fill it out via email. So these are just things that we can do right now to be creative. That virtual job exploration is doing, kind of doing that Discovery Job Bank, and then also, combining either the video library or having friends fill those types of assessments out. Another thing that I think would be really interesting, depending on the ability of the people that are in your group, is to have that intern assess themselves. And maybe that could be a good group activity for everybody to be able to do, that you could send them each emails to ask them to assess themselves, and then do it as a virtual Zoom class. And obviously some folks are going to be able to do that more independently than others. So that's something to think about. And then Susie threw out the progress monitoring for the IEP and using it for skills gain reporting. So again, gives you some nice reports that you can use as part of the IEP process, because I think we're all trying to figure out, what are those going to look like from a virtual environment. Another goal of today is to drive you to vocfit.com So if you look in the upper right-hand corner, if you click on the support tab, there's a couple things. The first and best way to do that, well, depending on your method of learning, and I believe there's someone at VocFit.com right now that you can go and Zoom with. So there are 5 hours, well, actually 5 hours a week or so that you're able to just dial in and give them a call or just Zoom into them, and they can work with you one-on-one and help you get through this process. The other thing you can do is um, email admin@vocfit.com and request a time. So if those hours don't work for you, we're trying to think about the global nature of Project Search. So right now it's what, 5-ish, a little after 5 in the UK. It's a little after 9 in Los Angeles. So trying to think about globally. We haven't thought as much about Australia and New Zealand, so we'll have to work that out. So but we have some great graduate students, and just go and look at those office hours because they do change periodically based on student schedules, but they can walk you through that. Other things that we've done are really beefed up the support on VocFit.com support. So you can hear if you haven't heard enough of my voice at this point, there are 12 different video tutorials that are there to help you. Again, these are just 90-second clips that'll take you through how to do each one of these items on VocFit, or if you prefer written on each one of those items, it's a short PDF on how to do that as well. Other things that are on there, again, can't get enough of my voice, are some basic information on introducing VocFit. What do the colors mean? What does some high and low mean anyway? So when you're sending this to an individual to assess someone or a job, you may want to include a clip to that to explain high, some, and low to them. A brief explanation about the VocFit video library, and then another brief explanation about VocFit and telehealth, and that's what I'm going to show you here in a second.
Dennis, someone is unable to get into the site. It only brings them to the dashboard.
Oh, so they need to go to VocFit.com. But Ali, so questions like that, there's 240 folks on this, so I'm going to hold all questions like that until the end. But that also, you can call the number that is at VocFit.com support right now, and you can get those individual questions answered.
Okay.
Okay, thanks. So those are the videos that are available. So I just want to say this before we go to VocFit.com. VocFit is meant to be a tool for good, not for evil. So high, some, and low, and we use the colors that we do because we're trying to give people information. We're not saying in any way, shape, or form that VocFit should tell you what job someone should or shouldn't do. That's really up to the individual, the job seeker, their family, their support team around them to figure out what's best for them. So don't use the reds necessarily to keep folks out of employment or out of certain jobs. Although there might be some items that are that VocFit shows that will kind of preclude you from being part of a job. So, but just remember that it's a tool for communication and not necessarily telling you what you should or shouldn't do. And then there's some references, and you'll have access to this when I publish the slides at VocFit.com later today. Okay. So now I'm going to go to VocFit.com and walk you through really am. Give me a moment. Firefox just disappeared, so I've got to open Firefox. Allie, how are you doing?
Good.
Excellent. Any other questions on there, Allie?
Do the students need to make an account to access the videos?
No, they can just go to VocFit.com and do it that way. And in fact, you actually don't want to have the student have an account within your setting, because if they would do that, then they would not. They'd be able to see other people's data, and we don't want them to do that. Sorry, everybody.
Can this tool be used for other employment programs besides Project Search?
Absolutely. So it's free for anybody to use at this point. So our promise is that it'll always be free for Project Search. Okay. Are you seeing VocFit, the dashboard now, Allie?
Yes.
Great. So I'm going to show you a couple things. So we're going to first go to VocFit.com. So this is the home page. So across the top, there's a home page. There's About, which has some basic information about VocFit. There are partners. So this shows funding agencies, and then also collaborators as part of the National Institute of Health grant. Support. So this is what I'm trying to drive you to as much as possible, that has my lovely voice, and then also a manual with PDF tutorials for that. And then also the office hours for the students. So the person that was having difficulty navigating it, so see if I can help you with it here. But also you can call that number right now, and somebody can walk you through any issues they're having. So this is, and then the last one is the video library that has short training videos for about 20 different jobs that are primarily project search internships. So if, as you're using it as part of the discovery process, helping individuals find or learn about jobs that they may not have experience with. And then also the ONET interest profiler is there. If you don't know about that, it's a nice tool. So once you are in VocFit, you're going to hit login. So I am going to keep that closed, and I'm going to log out, and I'm going to log in again. So I have an obnoxious number of sites that I'm part of. So that's, and mine looks a little different, and I have an admin account. So that's part of the fun. So I'm going to go to VocFit again. and log in. So, oh shoot, I'm going to log out. That's what I didn't do last time. So I'm going to create an account. So if you don't have an account in VocFit right now, go ahead and create an account. So to create an account, you're going to just register. So if you haven't done that yet, let's go ahead and all do that together. So you're going to put, this is for you, your first name and your last name. And then your email address. I'm feeling really good about myself. I just got VocFit at AOL.com. So that was good. I'm 27 years old. So I would have been born in, I'm lying, 1993, right? I'm a male, and then you would want to have your password. So you can do whatever you think you should do for your password.
Hey, Dennis, it's Aaron. Can you hear me?
Hi, Aaron. How are you?
I'm good. Hi, Dennis. Hi, everybody. Dennis, it's so fun to have you on here. I did see a great question from somebody while you're doing this part.
Yep.
And if they do want to use it with other programs, the question was, do they still register under the project search group, or do they set up an independent account?
That's a great question. I'll show you that here in a second. So you don't. So there are two different project searches you can register as. The first is Project Search based out of Cincinnati Children's Hospital. The other is Project Search DFN, which is based in the United Kingdom and Ireland. And then, Aaron, that's a couple of other countries as well, or is it the UK and Ireland? But I'll show you that here in a second. So we'd want you to register. So this is for your account. Oh boy, what did I? Oh, the email's already been taken. So just don't watch what I'm doing. There's probably I bet there's somebody already. Oh boy. All right, and we're not going to save that. So at this point, you can do two things. So you have now created an account. You can request to join an organization. So if you know that an organization already exists and someone else has an account, so you can say, for example, Cincinnati Children's Medical Center, you can click on that. Oops, Cincinnati Children's Medical Center. Click on that and then click add. And at that point, an email goes to the administrator for that organization, and they can decide to approve you or not to approve you based on that. What happens sometimes is people come and go. So if the organizational administrator for your organization is no longer there, email admin@vocfit.com and we can work with you to get that restarted. If you're going to register a new organization, so you're going to put the name of the organization, and so we will just say org1. And so at this point, you can say Project Search USA, DFN Project Search Other. So if that's a project search maybe in Australia, New Zealand, school district, non-project search, vocational rehabilitation, non-project search, developmental disabilities, non-project search, an employer or other. So that gives you lots of different things that you can do. Again, you're going to do your address. And a country, and then create. So once you've created your account, you are good to go. And so now everyone has their accounts. What I'm going to do is just go through a few basic skills that you can do as part of this.
Dennis, when creating an account, is this then what we use with those we are working with?
Correct. Yeah, so once you're in that account, you can go ahead and add folks to that. So for example, right now, org1 is the name of the organization that I just created. So you would manage student interns, add a student worker, and then the code for the student worker. So this is entering data about a specific student. We do not want you to put people's actual names in here. So create some type of a code for your site. So for example, you could use their initials in reverse and maybe the class that they are part of.
Hey, Dennis, can I interrupt you there for a sec?
Yep.
What they could also use is the 5-digit code that gets assigned to each intern in the project search database.
Absolutely.
And that way it would be consistent across time.
Okay.
And then they could go back. And then I had another question. from ND32743 that was a private message. The question is it possible to have a separate folder for each year's group rather than have all the interns in one organization? And I think that's a brilliant idea.
You're right. It's a long-term goal. Currently, you can sort it by date, and so that's basically how you're able to do that. The other thing that you can do is, this is kind of a poor man's way of doing it, is start each, so for this one you could do AFD, and so if you do that, and then for the next cohort BFD, so that's a way, at least it would be alphabetized that way. So that's a long-term goal, is to get to be able to divide it by cohorts, but we're not quite there yet. So you're going to assign it to a site. If you have more than one site as part of your organization, that's kind of more advanced. So we'll look at that later on, or you can email me or admin@vocfit.com, and we can help talk you through that process. Primary area of disability, and so this is in the United States, the qualifying diagnosis for an IEP. Birth year, race, gender, currently employed, no, currently seeking employment, yes, desired employment setting, hospitality, desired hours per week, there is a slide bar. So this person wants to work 40 hours per week, and they want to make $19 an hour. You can also just type that in. And so now we've added that person. So this is a person that's been created in your organization. So there are three things that we can do to create an assessment right now. The first thing we can do from a telehealth standpoint is we can email that assessment to someone else. This goes to them just like it would go like a Survey Monkey. They don't have access to any of your data, so you could send it to a special education teacher that knew them well. You could send it to the parent. You could send it to the student themselves. So you would just send it to their email, and then have a quick information that you would send that. Some folks have created kind of a cut and paste that automatically goes, asking them to assess the individual. If you want to include that link to the high, some, and low, that's a good way to do it as well. And then you're going to send that request. And again, it just goes to their email. I would recommend sending an email from your personal account before you do that, because otherwise they're going to get an email from admin@vocfit.com. A lot of times if they work in a hospital setting, that automatically goes to their spam folder. So, sometimes you have to just go look for it.
Dennis, for people who want to use this tool with other individuals not part of Project Search,
Yep.
do they have to create a different account?
Yeah, so I would create a different account if you're not using it for Project Search. So you can either do that or create a separate site. But for now, let's just say create a different account. But you can also email me or email admin@vocfit.com, and we can go through that process with you. The other thing we can do is to download the PDF of the assessment. If you do that, so say an individual or a family member isn't comfortable with technology, you can download the PDF, ask them to fill it out, and then from that, you would just have to enter the data into the database yourself. And to do that, you would complete that student intern worker assessment now. So to do that, the first question is this data about a real student intern worker? So this is going to be made up data, so I'm going to say no. I'm using it for testing purposes. We do that to try to keep our database pure so that we don't have bad data in there with it. So you're going to hit next. It's going to ask what your role is on the team. I'm an OT. How long have you been involved in transition? A long time. Who's my employer? A USB. And the place of employment is other. We always penalize you and make you say, when you say other, you have to put something in. And then click next. And at this point, you begin to fill out the assessment. So for this individual, their ability to stand, run, twist the body. And I won't go through all of it. I'm just going to kind of show you what this looks like. and then you hit next, and then you continue to go through all of that process. And again, that's taking folks about 15 to 20 minutes. So I'm now going to enter a different site. You can still see that, right, Allie?
Yes.
Great.
Hey, Dennis, can I ask another private question
Yes.
or a message sent to me privately? Would if you're going to use it for your VocFit for your VR clients, and then you're also part of it with a project search team, would you need to use 2 different emails?
No, so you can use the same email for both.
Okay.
So when you look at,
Because the login recognizes your email.
correct. Yeah, so if you look at my dashboard, so I have, 20 some organizations that are on there.
Gotcha.
So you just have different organizations that are part of that.
Thank you.
Sure. So I'm going to just run some reports to show you how it, what it looks like. So the student intern worker report, and again, these are all, you're able to do, just get these quick little run throughs real quickly. So this is what that student intern worker report looks like. You click on interpersonal skills and it tells you high, some, and low. If you think some of these are essential and things that you really need to work on, so for example, show compassion towards coworkers and clients, and I think we all need that right now. But again, you just click on that and it makes it essential, brings it to the top to help you as you're planning that. The other nice thing about that is that you can generate a sharing link. So you copy this and then you just add it to an email. So you can send it that worker report. So say someone, say your project search site and your VR counselor isn't part of your project search site, but you can send them reports. You can send this report to them. You can send the report to the individual and their family member. And it has the same interactivity that you would have based on being on your site. The nice thing about that, though, it doesn't give people access to your data who shouldn't have access to the data. So I'm going to just go back again, back to student intern worker. So a measurable skills change report. So we click on both of those. One was run by Allie a few days ago. One was one was assessed by me March 5th. And you hit run, and then it shows you it's not showing you. Hold on one second. There, I didn't click both. There we go. Got nervous for a second. So what this shows you is, and this is made up data just for testing purposes only. It shows you on day 1, and then it shows you day 30. So what we're recommending in the project search model is that you assess the individual when you feel like that you know the individual. So typically in the project search model, within 1 or 2 weeks, you have a pretty good understanding of them. And then at the end of each internship, so that you can use it to plan the next internship. So then it shows you where they were. So from part A to part B, where they've had gains and where they've had losses. And then you also can click on that. So for physical abilities, you click on it, it shows where they were and where they are now. So again, that measurable skill over time. And then if you like this, you can just click on different things and it'll, you just click them off. So if you want to just look at one thing and not everything, you can click on that to eliminate it. And we'll just look at cognitive abilities over time, for example. Let's see. There we go. So that's just, again, another, the measurable skills change report. And then the rater agreement report is there. Same thing. It'll show you the radar plot graph that Aaron, you like so well. I'm just teasing. And so again, shows you where folks are agreeing and disagreeing on that. And then you can click on physical abilities and it'll show you where each person has rated them. And the last thing is this job internship matching report. So we're going to just show the jobs in the Discovery Job Bank. The Discovery Job Bank comes preloaded with 50 jobs from basic parts of the economy. You can also, once you input your own jobs, you can just have those jobs populated as well. So what this is doing now is running that data, comparing the score of the individual to the overall, the internships that come preloaded with that. And this sometimes will take a minute or two as it's running the data for you. There it goes. Hope I'm not giving anyone a seizure by going up and down like that. And then what you do is just go through with the individual. Say, for example, this person is interested in doing something in art. So we would look at jobs that are related to that. So I'm going to connect Usher, because, you know, movie is art. And so you're just clicking on things that are related to that, and then you can run the report based on that. Painter, floral designer, choreographer, singer. And then you generate the JMR, which is the job matching report. This again will take a moment or two to run. And then again, kind of what I showed you already with the high sums and lows. You'll notice the difference in the links of the bar based on the low demand falls out altogether. You click on Usher and it'll show you the pros, the strengths, areas for intervention, needs, and then this particular person has no cons. So the nice thing about that is that you can use this then for designing your you know, the skills trainer, kind of the job coaching plan and that sort of thing for them. And you can also generate a sharing link so that you can send this to other people outside of your organization. And again, just cutting and pasting and putting into your own email. All right. So that is VocFit in a nutshell. The other side of it is going in and entering your own jobs. And I have been way too chatty, so we will not go over that now. So I really want to, Byron, are you here?
Yes, sir, I am.
Welcome, Byron. How are you?
Doing well. How about yourself, sir?
Great. So now I'd like to open this up to questions. And so you could maybe just unmute yourself if you have questions, but as you're doing that, I'll just go back to VocFit.com and remember the support that's in place there for you. So Byron, do you want to just talk maybe for 60 seconds about how you're using VocFit at the World Golf Village in St. Augustine, Florida?
Absolutely. Well, I'm trying to get a little creative to do more so at home now on the home front, since we're all at home. But I have been using it very much so. I give so much of our credit to being able to employ our guys from the VocFit, especially with the support of the hotel, the departments, everyone, they've really gotten on board with it. And I really think the best part of that is being able to give them the cold, hard, black and white data to be able to support what you're trying to do with your host site. But I really try to make sure I update my VocFits as much as possible, using them for department development. updating those when I can, as well as, you know, that internship placement that you spoke about. I feel that's very important, but also created a lot of different internship evaluations that base upon the VocFit to be able to help me update it more quickly, making sure I include that with employment planning meetings, that job search development plan, a lot of the, you know, the core values of project search in general, as well as those IEPs and IPEs, even with VR, and just kind of analyzing and going over those things, making sure we're doing what we can do best for our guys in our, you know, 10-month time span.
Awesome. Thanks, Byron. Does anyone have questions for Byron or myself about VocFit?
There are questions in here I can read off to you.
Great.
Can skills trainers and instructors see the same intern information, or does everyone have their own accounts?
Yeah, no. So you're, Byron, do you want to explain that?
Sure. So what we've been doing is we kind of made a more neutralized login. Well, everybody has been using mine, but we had been looking at making a more neutralized one. So I would recommend that for sites who are just starting to create one, but making sure it's either an email password that you make up or it's someone that can share, and then everyone has to kind of log in from there.
But you can also, so for example, when you manage an organization, and this is all, I know I'm going fast through some of these things, but so this is a test training site that we actually created when we did a talk at Temple it seems like 5 years ago, but I think it was a few weeks ago. So this actually has a number of people that are in either as administrators or as instructors. So you can assign different roles to them. And so all of them will be able to see all of the information that's in this organization. So the difference between instructor and administrator, the administrator can approve other people to be added to that organization. So if you remember on that earlier slide or the earlier part where you request to join an organization, it's only the administrator that can approve people. But so everybody on here can actually see everything within the site. So Byron, what you're doing is fine, but you can also have each people just use their own emails to join organizations.
Someone wants to know if there has been any work done on the size of the reports that we can print.
They're still big. I know, I'm sorry about that. It's just kind of the nature of the database and what they look like. What I'll do to save you a little time is if you're printing out a PDF to have someone fill out, we do have a 1-page version of that instead of like an 8-page version of it. The PDFs, if you have, so say you have, the only other thing you can do potentially is when you're doing a job matching report, instead of having 8 jobs that you're comparing, if you do 1, it's shorter, but it's still going to be, I think, 5 pages or so. So I'm sorry about that. I'm sorry to the earth for paper, but hopefully you have the ability to save those as a PDF instead of in paper. But yeah, that's it's another of those things that's on our list, but it's not front burner, it's more back burner. But if you bring it up a lot, we'll probably be more likely to work on that. So
if they're wanting to track the intern's progress after they exit Project Search during follow-along support, is there a way to do that?
Well, if you are in Pennsylvania, Florida, or Colorado, you can be part of the NIH study. But you can continue to track people over time. One thing that Aaron and we had a meeting with the folks that run the Project Search portal to see about, because that's one thing they're doing is tracking them over time, and that would be a great measure potentially if we could figure out who would be able to fill out VocFit. But you can certainly do that as often as you want. Once people graduate from Project Search, you could reassess them. You just would have to figure out who the person would be that would reassess them. So outside of my dream, if anyone here is a VR aficionado, my dream long-term is for VR to own this data. Because if you think about it, for someone with an intellectual or developmental disability involved in employment, the people that are going to be with them for life are their family, their support, and VR, or maybe DD, I guess, as well. So how great would it be if we started using this for folks at age 12 and continue to use that, at age 50, 60. So dscleary@iu.edu if any VR folks have any ideas on how we can do that.
Is there a way to pull a report to compare areas of strengths and weaknesses of a cohort?
That's another future goal. If you are part of the curriculum working group with Susie Rutkowski for Project Search, that's one thing that we're going to be doing for each of those Project Search teachers, but we still have to do that manually on our end. Long term, that's a goal, though, to be able to do that, because then that's the best in education, right? So you're using, data to inform how you're spending time with the curriculum, because outside of virtual, typically you're going to have about 90 minutes a day to deliver Project Search curriculum within that model. So how great would it be if you knew that, everybody had hand washing down pretty well, and instead of spending a lot of time on something like that, that you could just check off real quick and then move on.
Is it possible to save the assessment if you don't have time to complete?
No. So it's 15 to 20 minutes. So we recommend that you have that time, just to make sure you have 20 minutes to fill that out instead of coming back and forth. It causes all sorts of havoc in the database.
How do we register for VocFit when we have more than one host site?
So at that point, you would use an organization. So an example would be, so say Orange County Public Schools in Florida. So they have a school district, they have internship programs, and then they also have, I think, 2 or 3 or 4 Project Search sites. So theoretically, they could have the school district as the organization, and then each of those could be different sites that all can talk to each other. But that goes over lots of people's heads. So I would recommend emailing admin@vocfit.com and scheduling a time, or even going in and Zooming and letting one of our grad students walk you through that process. How are we doing, Allie? Any other questions?
There's a question for Byron. How are you using this in your interviewing process?
Yeah, so we've been using it in a couple different ways. I really like to make sure that we use it to be a part of that skills assessment program, but definitely within the application process, you can kind of go ahead and start getting an idea of their, community-based work experience, or pulling from their CUME files to see how they were interviews with their previous teachers. But then definitely that skills assessment process, being able to go back and have these students already entered into the database and start reflecting to be able to have, those VocFits in place for if they will be coming to the program. That way you really have a lot of good growth that you can see on them.
And the cool thing about Project Search is that there's exceptional teachers and skills trainers and host businesses that have thought about much better but just different ways to use this than we anticipated. So using it for that skills assessment day actually came out of when we did the talk in Philadelphia a couple weeks ago. It's been longer than that. Anyway, so it was one of the folks that just learned about VocFit that figured out they had to cancel their skills assessment days and wondered about using this for that. So there just are really good ideas that always come from, the boots of the ground Project Search folks. So that's it's not a way that obviously we anticipated using VocFit for, but any port in a storm right now kind of is is what it's doing. The key thing for that is so that you get accurate information is to ask someone that knows them well to be able to do that. So it might be the parent or the individual with the parent sitting down to do that. The other thing with that is you can't say, I don't know. So there's a forced choice of high ability, some ability, low ability. So if you're not sure, we always recommend you put low ability.
Another one is, I see that there's a connection to ONET interest inventory for the video library. Is there a connection to the interest area results and their ability profile?
Yeah, so not, you would just have to go in and do that. So let me do something real quick and I'll just show you what that looks like. When you're inputting a job, so managing job, add an internship job, ice cream vendor, main site, accommodations and food service. So we are connected into the ONET SOC codes. So if you put ice cream, sadly, nothing comes up. But if you put food, it'll bring up the ONET SOC codes. For those outside the United States, this is US Department of Labor. These SOC codes are basically most jobs in the economy that have done, and even if you're not in the US, it's free. Go to, I think it's onet.org, has some really good information. So from that, then you would put combined food preparation, serving workers, including fast food. So I think that's the closest one. So it has that SOC code. You would do the description, do other information there. But the nice thing about that for VR who really wants that or needs that data, you can use that SOC code based on, to pull up a lot of the data that VR needs to have as part of their reporting. Hope that answers your question.
That's it for the questions in the chat room.
Does anyone have other questions about anything in the entire world?
I have a question.
Okay.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Rain.
First of all, what time did you start? Because I got up and I see that you had already started, so I kind of missed the beginning.
Oh, it started at 12 Eastern.
So in Hawaii, that's 7.
Yeah, sorry about that.
No, because I jumped on and it was like a minute after, but you were already into it. Because I can always catch the 3rd, right? You're on here
So
on
there's
the
another one on Friday, and also this is being recorded,
3rd.
and then will be uploaded to YouTube so that we'll have closed captioning, and then you can translate it into other languages. So that might take a couple days to get up onto our site. We're going to put it. Lorraine, are you at the Project Search in Hawaii?
Yes.
Okay, so if you
At
need
Kaiser
to come out and
Hospital.
do consulting, I'd be happy to do that. I'm just teasing.
Agree with that.
But also it'll be on the Project Search portal as well, and that might take a couple days to get that up there.
Okay, if I go into YouTube, do I type in VocFit or am I typing
No,
in?
so we'll probably put, well, it'll be on the TET Lab VocFit page. So actually, if you would go to support at vocfit.com and then click on support, I'm not going to do it because you've heard my voice enough, but if you click on create an account, it'll take you to our TET Lab YouTube account, and it'll be there, but also it'll be on the portal.
Dennis, I can put it on the video library in the member portal as soon as it's up and running. It'll be, or up and posted, it'll be in the VocFit section of the video library.
Awesome. Thank you, Molly.
Okay. Oh, is that Paula? Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
So back to the question about ONET. They were wondering if there was a way to use it with the ONET to search out jobs within a field or even job clusters.
Yeah, so our next, everyone wants to hear about what's happening next with VocFit, right? So our next goal, so we're asking for pricing, because it always comes down to how much money do we have available, because we really, especially for Project Search, this is going to be free forever, but we really want it to continue to grow and get better. So I think the next phase of this is really using it as an even better job development tool. So what I would like to do is to look at the ONET job classification. So for example, when you pull up, One more. Oh boy. When you, I should just talk and not. Anyway, when ONET has 15 different clusters of employment. So my dream is to pull from our 3,000 jobs that Project Search and others have entered in our database, and for each of those career clusters to have 6 or 7 or 8 jobs, so that as you're doing discovery with the individual, say they're really interested in logistics, so then we can pull up 6 or 7 different jobs so that you can input. You can look and see where they are based on that career cluster. It's just right now with those 50 jobs that are in there, it's just a little clunky to have to go through all of those. So we'd like to do it based on career cluster. So that's the next phase. If anyone's from a DD council in the US right now and wants to give us money to help us do that, knock yourselves out. We're always happy to grow. So that's part of how we're doing this. So we're relying on grants. Obviously the NIH grant helps a ton. But the Spanish translation that we have available came from the Kansas DD Council. So if there are features that you're interested in and you have the ability to help us do that, let us know, and we'll see what we can do.
Is this mostly used as a tool for collecting data to match students with employment or jobs versus as a lesson tool?
So within the Project Search model, both. So when you look at the job, so I'll just start as a kind of at the root of it. So when you run those job matching reports and you put an intern on a job, you have those different colors. It really helps to let the natural support person in the area know what are the yellows, oranges, and reds. What are the areas that the person's going to need some support in, both for the skills trainer and job coach, and also that natural support. Also, though, from that training, how great would it be eventually to know what your kind of those yellows or greens, yellows, and reds are for the people that are in your cohort, to be able to say, my students are really good at this, but they need some additional time in these areas. And the other thing that we're doing currently is mapping the Project Search curriculum to VocFit, so that we can, when you're doing those yellows, reds, and greens for your individual, to map, that what part of the Project Search curriculum helps address managing face-to-face with the public. So that's kind of our next phase that Susie and the team is working on, kind of doing that curriculum piece. That was a long answer.
You mentioned it will be free for Project Search, so will it be free for non-Project Search programs?
So as long as we can keep it free, it will be free. So certainly for the next 3 years, as we're partnering with NIH for those populations, it should be. So that's what we're trying to do.
Someone has a user that is no longer with their program, but they can't remove them from the organization because it says they have data attached to them. Is there a way to fix that? Yeah,
so that's actually another issue that we're working on to be able to do that. There is kind of a workaround where we can impersonate that person and change their password so they can't access the data. So email admin@vocfit.com or go to those the web hours when our students are available, and they can go in and help you with that.
And then someone said they tried to register for VocFit.com, but it's telling them that their email is already taken.
Gotcha. So what you would need to do there is to put your email in and then just say forgot password, and it'll send you a new link to re-register. Not re-register. It'll send you a link to change your password.
That's it for the questions.
Wonderful. Any other questions out there? Well, thank you, Allie and Byron and Molly and Aaron and all of you for being a part of this. So we will record this, what is being recorded, if I didn't screw anything up, and have it available to you on the Project Search website, on on the portal, and then also on VocFit.com. So thanks for all that you're doing for your interns, and just we've got a great country and a great world, depending on where you are. So we'll get through this together. Thanks, everybody. Take care.
Thank you, Dennis. I'll see you virtually on Friday.
Okay. Thanks, Byron.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Be well. Be
Thanks,
well,
Dennis.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.